Hi, I am Debra Lynn here at Longworth Gallery on Canyon Road. I paint the story of the universe, one painting at a time. I actually started out as a 2-year-old, and my first bout of artwork was painting a bathroom with red lipstick. It didn't go well. And henceforth, my art creativity was not encouraged, but I had a talent for it that was recognized by a school teacher. And she pushed, and I thought, at least it's something I can do well. So I did. And I've explored a lot of different kind of art, trying to find the art that I do. And it unfortunately has taken about 30 years for me to find the thing that makes my heart sing. But I'm there, and so I really, really, really do enjoy creating beautiful things. A very, very circuitous, crazy, resembles a roller coaster ride adventure. I began actually painting for live audiences, for youth camps, women's conferences, things of that nature. That said, it came to an end. I moved to a different state. The opportunities weren't there. And so I laid it down for several years until I found that I could not do art. So I started doing what others thought I should paint and found there was no life in it. And I didn't enjoy it, and I had to make myself do it. And unfortunately, I could do it well, but it still wasn't life. And I don't think the paintings had the life that I think my paintings have now. And someone observed that through the whole thread of the many varied forms of art I've done, space is through it all. And I got intrigued. So I did a small collection of space paintings, and they were very well received. And so, in fact, they disappeared very quickly. And I thought I might be onto something. And I got to looking, and that's when I found the other artist in the world that does what I do in Australia. And it was really exciting to know that this actually could be more than a hobby. And so in January of this year, I jumped. There aren't many people who do what I do, so there are no YouTube videos telling you how to make glow-in-the-dark fine art paint. There's no instructions on how to paint with the product. That oil paints generally are like butter and smooth and easy to apply, but the product that is created by adding mediums and oils to strontium aluminate or europium combined is more like painting with mashed potatoes as opposed to butter. And it creates a whole set of problems all in and of itself. So it's been quite a learning curve to figure out how to incorporate a traditional sense of painting with the modern effect that I'm after. Because the reality is, these paintings are beautiful, they're wonderful pieces of the night. They're not pieces of the day. You cannot see them during the daylight hours. So why would you have a painting on your wall that is of the night that you could only see during the day? I wanted it to be something that they would be able to see as it is. It glows, this light glows in space, and we capture it with Hubble's Space Telescope and the Gaia Telescope and many more that are coming out. Many photographers even have taken up astrophotography by time-lapse photographs of very powerful telescopes just here from the Earth. It's fascinating to know that something that beautiful exists in a world of darkness, or at least it does to me. And I love capturing it. And for me, art has always been about telling a story. And when I look at these paintings, I realize I am telling a story. I'm telling a story of history. These things represent all that has gone before us, all the light that we see in these nebulas or in galaxies or even in the stars happened billions of years ago. and is just now reaching our eyes. So we're literally seeing age, timeless age, all the way back just now. And I tell that story. I'm telling the story of how we came to be, how everything around us came to be, and how much more that actually is than this blue ball. So the process that gets me to this augmented oil paintings, I get to play my own alchemist, and I take strontium aluminate and europine, and strontium aluminate has a 28 to 30 year lifespan, but europine has a 38 to 40 year lifespan. So I combine the two to give you the brightness of the strontium and the length of life of the europine. And they create this paste. And in that paste, I incorporate it in what is called a grisaille. And it's what the old masters did in painting the bases of their paintings. Basically, I paint a black and white image, much like the original image from Hubble telescopes. All the telescopes have original black and white photographs. And I paint that, they call it a grisaille, and incorporate different levels of incorporation of the nuclear powder that has been deradiated and now absorbs light during the day and gives it off at night, so that you can't see it during the day, but in the night your paintings literally come to life and have a life of their own, and will glow through the night, gradually getting dimmer and dimmer, but will glow 12 to 16 hours. And it is so, for me, magical when the lights go down and the paintings come to life and they literally light up your room. And that's what I call excitement. And that's what, unfortunately, 95% of the human population doesn't even get to experience anymore because of light pollution and how we've lost our ability to even see the stars, much less what's beyond them. What I see when I create a painting is an invitation for someone to become curious enough to go beyond what my painting opens them up to explore and see so much more. I have several paintings that where they have nebulas, where they focus down really tight, and like the pillars of creation actually is the painting behind me to the left, and it is a focus in on the Eagle Nebula, and in the fingers of those pillars are actually creating stars. And so they call it the pillars of creation because it was one of the first really close-up understandings they came of basic space wombs or star nurseries, or however you want to use the terms. But that's found inside of something much bigger. So what else, if we looked deeper, if we could delve further in, would we find? And there's so much more than we can actually see now. So how do we know who the next person being born this day might, like Elon Musk, have the ability to take us places we can't even think or dream of today? But we're also today in places we couldn't think or dream of 50 years ago. The influence and inspiration actually began as a young child when we lived in the Mojave Desert in the mid-60s, when there was no light pollution, there was no air pollution, and the stars were so bright that even going down a highway with your headlights on, you could still see what looked like a scattering dust across your vision in the night sky. As a child, I loved to play connect the dots. That's what I did with the stars. I made my own constellations. Thank you. And I would lay out at night and look up. And at the time, I did not understand it was the Milky Way. I understand that now. I wish I had the perspective I do as an adult then. But in my childlike mind, the stars were so incredibly bright. They appeared to be close enough that if you could get just a little bit higher, you could touch one. And so I have always, from those years of spending the nights under something so incredible, something I've never seen again, of the night sky, and stars that twinkled, and stars that twinkled red and blue, stars that were so bright you literally thought you could catch them. So it breaks my heart that most of the world live in cities. They can't even see stars of any kind. And if they see Orion's belt, they think they've seen something. And there's just so much more. And so, but you have to make an effort. You have to go beyond where you exist to be able to find something that incredibly beautiful. And that's why I want to tell the story of what is beautiful beyond the natural, limited visual capacity of a man. My father was military, so we moved from Southern California to Germany. And I spent 3 years as a teenager in Europe, and I cut my teeth on the original masters. So when I began to study art, I actually really began to study the Dutch masters, the Italian masters, favorites being Rembrandt, a lot more so the Dutch masters, because they were the ones that truly mastered the glazing process, although Titian was really good too. I really, really did find that my eyes were always drawn to the paintings that they called in the category of chiaroscuro, which means it had an extreme juxtaposition of light and dark. I always found that fascinating. And I also loved that their colors were so incredibly rich in a way that no impressionistic painting can capture. And it's because the multiple layers of paint allow the light that I'm talking about to come through, bounce off the white underneath it, and come back to your eye. And when it does, it is very similar to looking through a glass, a colored glass, like a stained glass window, but it's on a canvas. And the color has life. And there's colors you can create by layering one color over another that you will never achieve by mixing the two together. And that's what I hope and believe make my paintings have life and glow. They alter as you change the lights, not just that they go from being visual to being glow in the dark, but they also change the depth and texture of the painting shifts as the lighting in the room shifts. And that is achieved because of the multiple layers of glazing that goes on that creates the mirror of light and how it's bouncing back to your eye. So it creates I guess really my goal is I want you to be able to experience just a tiny piece of what is such an awe and wonder of space. And in having color engage you personally, and the phosphorescence creating the awe and the wonder, it makes you have an experience with something that I hope will lead you to understand, desire, or be curious about finding more of. The journey here started in May. Actually, it started in January at another gallery where I was challenged to begin doing this. And so I did, and there were 4 pieces that I had that weren't as large as the other pieces. And I had a friend who was going to Farmington, New Mexico, and wanted a companion, promised me some time in Santa Fe. Artist in the capital of artwork, so to speak, of the West. That was a no-brainer. Yes, I was going. So I threw the paintings in the back of the car, and as we began the trip, she's like, there's this gallery on Canyon Road. I can't remember the name, but this British lady, her name I think is Lisa, has this incredible amount of art, and I really think you need to go there. And I'm like, okay. I'm clueless, had never been to Santa Fe, did not know we were looking for a needle in a haystack. I have another friend that I'm sharing with her that I'm going to Santa Fe, and she does the same thing. Long story short, person after person after person after person kept telling me about this amazing gallery and this amazing art and this amazing woman named Lisa. But nobody could remember the name Longworth. And it was really hard to find in all the galleries in Santa Fe, Lisa. And so I happened to be in another gallery and striking up a conversation with a fellow artist. And my business card had my previous art. I live on the Gulf Coast. It was beach scenes. And he's like, "This is cool." I said, "Well, that's not what I'm doing now." He said, "Well, what are you doing?" So I showed him some pictures. He's like, "You have to go to Longworth Gallery. You have to go see Lisa." And so I took my bod and hoofed it the distance of Canyon Road, because I was at the other end of it, down here to get to this place before it closed. I had like 15 minutes, and I'm sure it was quite interesting looking running down the road, but I got here and I just struck up a conversation. I let her know that I really don't have a pedigree. I've just been doing this for a year, so I don't have lots of competitions or things I've achieved yet. But I'm only one of 3 artists in the whole world that do what I do. And she looked at me and she goes, "Pedigree enough. Let me have a look." And so she took a look and she's like, "These actually look interesting. But I've seen some really cool art on phones and computers. And when I saw them in person, they were crap." And I'm like, "Okay." She said, "You wouldn't by any chance have any of this with you?" And my face lit up and I was like, "Yeah, actually, I have 4 pieces." And she said, "You have 5 minutes of my time tomorrow morning. I have an appointment today." "Thank you, ma'am. I will be back." And she kept 1 piece. It sold in 30 minutes. She wanted the rest of them. And that's the journey that I have had in Longworth Gallery. And I've been in many galleries, but I have never been in a gallery where the personality, and there's so, Lisa just cracks me up. She literally is an iconic personality herself. But she is so engaging and she is so positive and she so believes in people, and the artwork that she has in her gallery, I don't want to be anywhere else, because I know that what I do and who I am, not just what I do, but who I am, is valued. And that's a rare commodity in this world. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. I just wouldn't.